Welcome into another Red Out podcast. My name's Devin. We'll get the script and get the guys in here in just a second. Hope you've had a nice week and it's a beautiful day here in Rhineyville, Kentucky. So stick with us.
Hey, how about them tops, son?
All day, SEC boys. SEC, they supposed to be SEC. Jersey all day, baby.
You're listening to the Red Out Podcast.
I am not ashamed to admit in the past, I've needed a therapist. We all need someone, and it's a strong person who can admit it. I talked to my doctor, who referred me to a therapist, and I really didn't have much say as to who the therapist was. But with this episode's sponsor, Betterhelp, you do. You can filter out who you would like to talk to, age, gender, religion, and more to pair you with the person who works best for you. And if the person isn't exactly who you were wanting, you're not stuck. You can switch counselors. BetterHelp strives to offer affordable, professional, and accessible online therapy. So go to betterhelp.com/redout today to save 10%. By doing this, you not only support us, you can work toward a brighter, healthier you. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Yes, thank you to BetterHelp. We appreciate your support. And if you'd like to use our affiliate link, you can go to betterhelp.com/redout. It not only helps us, it helps you as well. It gives you 10% off your first month's trial. And, why not? If you need therapy or need somebody to talk to, BetterHelp has tons of counselors that you can speak with. And, hey, it's beneficial to both of us. If you would rather not, you can like, share, and subscribe to the episode. That helps us out. It gives the algorithm a little bit more push. We appreciate our listeners. Thanks again, guys. Jared, Matt, how's it going?
It's pretty good.
Good. Let me see if I can there we go. Get my volume up a little bit here. Okay. So I'll go with you first, Jared. Winners and losers, buddy.
Man, I haven't really thought too much about it, but I mean, winner is me today because it's like 78 degrees and sunny right now in the middle of February. Right? So, I mean, I love it. I know it won't last very long, but I don't really care.
Yeah, my mother was looking it up. I've got family in Chicago, and they it's like 38 in Chicago right now. So, suck it, guys.
So what did you get for living in the north?
Yeah. It's like Eskimos. I never understood that. Did they think it was colder like thousands of years ago? Did they think it was like too cold? So they just were like, forget this. I'm not going further south. It's probably colder down there.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, they're immune to it, I feel like.
Hashtag shower thoughts. I'm just saying. Matt, what's up, buddy?
I don't want to hear any more of your shower thoughts, Devin.
Hey, it's not what you were saying the other day.
Anyway, what are we doing? Winners and losers? All right.
I mean, that's normally what we do.
Okay, all right. Well, sometimes you skip it. Anyway, my winner is Greg Collins Underbritches. With all the distraction with Stansberry and all the losing and everything, he's really kind of gotten away scot-free. Also, his team's playing really well, and
that's great.
Yeah, good for him.
It's good to see that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm really happy for him. He knows what he's doing. He has trouble getting in good players, especially big girls. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he went from dude's about to be fired in December to he's probably going to be fine all the way through this year, no matter what, and into next year. So that's my winner. And then my loser is Valentine's Day for Football Alumni Council's wives. All right. So I just recently got asked to be a part of the Football Alumni Council as an equipment manager and manager union EMU. Anyway, so they had this thing scheduled. They have it on the second Tuesday of every month. Well, that was Valentine's Day. Yeah. And so they didn't let us know. I'm like, surely this is going to be canceled. It's like 6:00 at night, and it's a big Zoom of 200 people, all dudes, whatever. Like, how many wives are going to be frustrated with this time slot?
I can imagine.
Anyway, and so like we get the notice like the day of that they're canceling. I'm like, we should have known this was canceled the whole time. Like, I'm not one to rock the boat. I'm not messaging being like, hey, we're going to cancel this or not. But like,
Especially being the new guy, you think you just
yeah,
let it go.
So, yeah, I did, but then I was like waiting for the Zoom to start, and then I see the email. Hey, by the way, did you see that we canceled? I'm like, no. They canceled it the morning of. So anyway.
Hey, it's better than like an hour or two before, right?
Yeah. I mean, they gave us plenty of warning.
That's great.
Plenty of time to get your plans together.
Well, it was fun while it lasted. I guess Matt will be off the council next week. So,
yeah. Yeah, and I'm not going to be there. They're having something Saturday, too. And I'm not going to be there because of family funeral stuff. So
I'm sorry to hear that, bud.
About to get kicked out.
Sorry to hear that.
It's been good run.
So
thank you, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry. So we got some XFL news. I always like that it's in the spring. It's kind of fun. I did not realize until earlier I saw there's a big rules difference between the XFL and the NFL. So
that was a news flash to you?
That is a news flash because you can go for 3 points in the XFL. So I think it was St. Louis or somebody I saw on ESPN's TikTok, Instagram or something. They were down like 9-15. So they go for 3, get it. Then they, instead of kicking off, you can do a 4th and 15. And if you convert that, then you get the ball back. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. It adds a little flavor. What do you think about that? I think they ended up winning the game like 18-15 or something like that. But like, Jared, what do you think? Do you think that's a good change or not?
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something to make it more interesting. I mean, kickoffs are kind of meh as it is. I mean, very rarely is there ever a kickoff return for a touchdown. And if there is, there's probably like an illegal block in the back or holding or something, and it gets negated every single time. So, I mean, I would rather than do something interesting like that than just be cookie cutter and look exactly like the NFL. They need to do something that differentiates them. And I think small stuff like that is what kind of makes them a little more entertaining, I guess.
Well, okay, let me ask you something else. Who do we cheer for in XFL?
Whoever you want.
As Western fans. Do you go for the one that have Western players on them? Because I'm kind of impartial to Western players, so...
I mean, you can, but I mean, they may not end up staying on that team forever. So you'd have to decide: am I just going to follow the WKU players, or am I going to like commit to a team like us being born as the fans of whatever team we are? It doesn't have that history that the NFL does. Like, I've been a Dolphins fan too long to change to something else. I've already invested 20 years of crying into this team. I can't just leave them now. Because I know as soon as I do is when they would be good, and I'm just like, well, crap. Now I can't take it back.
Find another team that's really bad that you'll have to cry over. So
yeah,
Jared, why do you like the Dolphins in the first place? What made you?
I remember the very first game I ever watched from them was when they were playing the Patriots in like 2002, 2003. I remember it was in New England because it was snowing, and I thought it looked really cool. And like, I've always loved Florida and everything. We go to Panama City Beach all the time, especially back then. So I was like, this Dolphin team, they seem pretty cool. I like the colors they have too. And I don't even remember if they won that game or not. As like a second grader, I'm watching this, and I just chose the Dolphins as my favorite team and everything. But they were amazing.
That's
like, at least I did get to see some of the good teams with Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, and all of them growing up. Those are some really good teams, really incredible defense back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've only seen them go to the playoffs twice or maybe 3 times in my life. So yeah, it's miserable as far as that's concerned.
I remember, and Matt didn't ask me this, but anyway, I remember when I started college, I saw a Facebook post or something, and it was like, white people pick teams because their parents like them. And I was like,
damn, that hits home.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's a
Because-
Cowboys fan, and I was not
Exactly.
about to do that.
See, I was a Cowboys fan because my dad was a Cowboys fan, and I mean, I still cheer for the Yankees just because it's the white thing to do. But,
Oh,
but
It's as American as apple pie.
I mean, right? But I decided like when I was in college, just playing fantasy football and stuff like that, and like most of my team ended up being like Packers. So I was like, you know what? I'm watching the games more anyway. I had Mason Crosby, my kicker. Rodgers was my quarterback. I think I had Jordy Nelson was like the flex player for me. So I was like, you know what? I might as well. So, you know, a couple years playing with, you know, those guys when they were good. And that's how I ended up being a Packers fan. So, and then, you know, the history and the Lombardi and all that
You mean
stuff.
you weren't even
Yeah,
a
all
fan
the
during the
white
Brett
people.
Favre days?
Oh, no. God, no. Couldn't stand him.
Yeah.
He just kept showing his wang. It was just weird. I don't know. Weird. So weird. But okay, Matt. So I asked Jared, what do you think about the XFL rules? I mean, do you like it? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives them a chance to be interesting. And the 4th and 15 thing, like, think about onside kicks. Like, they're in the NFL, everybody's so good and, you know, the technique to stop an onside kick, like, they never, ever work.
yeah.
So what's the point of them?
And you know it's coming.
Yeah, so give them a chance to actually
like that,
have an
too.
onside kick or whatever, a change of possession actually happen. So
Yeah,
I think that's genius. And 4th and 15 is long enough that it's like, okay, you're not just giving it to them. It's not like, you know, 4th and 3 or something. Like, you get 4th and 15, you earned the possession, in my opinion. So
I 100% agree. I mean, that's a legit thing too. I was like, 4th and 15 is like near damn impossible. You know.
See,
Yeah.
here's what I want to see,
But you
though.
have
I
a
want to
prayer.
see.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say you have a prayer, 4th and
Yes.
15.
See, I want to see a version of football that only has one down. And the only way you can score is if you convert on first down,
Lord.
basically the entire drive. Tell me that wouldn't be fun to watch.
God, I would hate that.
Now, make it
I
fast.
don't get it. Is it just
No.
turn over where the ball is?
Yeah, and the other team can pick it up. So it gives you that sense of urgency that you can't miss this play, because if you do, then you'll basically be backed up and the other team can score really quickly. But
We
if
get,
they
like,
miss
first
it, then
and
you can
3.
pick it up. Tell me that wouldn't be fun to watch. It would be. I know it would be.
I would, if I played, I'd be exhausted running back and forth on the field. Okay.
Would they do a commercial break after every possession change?
No, it'd be just halftime. Just continuous clock, like soccer. Continuous clock.
Okay, I'm trying to find. I found it on Facebook, where our friend of the show Dean posted San Antonio Brahmas. That's where Deion Yelder ended up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know, where did Ja'Cour Pearson end up?
I know he got somewhere.
I've got him on a roster, but it's in spreadsheet format, and I don't have a name on it, so I'll have to Google that one. And that's the same with the other one. So let me see. See if I can find the post specific. Here we go.
As BG Daily News had some of that. Let's see.
Sorry, I know this is completely awesome.
The Seattle Sea Dragons? Is that who he's with?
Probably.
That sounds right.
Yes, Pearson's on the. You said Sea Dragons? Yes, Seattle Sea Dragons. Yelder ended up with the San Antonio Brahmas, and Lucky Jackson ended up on the.
Is he Defenders?
Defenders, that's right. Well, where is that?
What do you mean?
I gotta Google the.
Washington D.C.
Is it okay?
Yeah, D.C. Defenders. You know, like defending the Capitol.
Gotcha. Makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not up on my XFL.
Hey, you gotta watch out for those Sea Dragons out west. Okay.
Hey, I will say
Makes
I
perfect
give
sense.
them props. I give them props for trying to figure out like how to name the teams, because like there's so many mascots out there, and then you got to be politically correct on some of them too. So
I think Battlehawks is a little borderline.
Battlehawks.
That sounds
Scares the children.
Sounds barbaric.
Yeah.
I respect. There's a story Bobby Bowden did when they were when Florida State. I don't know if it was they became the Seminoles or when he took over. He met with the Seminole Nation and they basically gave their blessing to it. And I was like, that's awesome. even from a PC standpoint. Like I used to love Bobby Bowden because of that. So anyway,
Heck yeah.
So Jared, you were talking about how you don't really want to stick with a team because they may not be around long enough. Honestly, like if the XFL is around in 10 years, I'd be surprised. I hate to
mean,
sound
yeah,
like
it's
that,
just like the other football league too, the USFL. Like, I'm surprised they've made it too, because I mean, we had like the AAF or whatever that was, and it didn't even last a full season, and they went bankrupt.
but yeah,
Now, like, I love that there's competition for the NFL, but I feel like
yeah,
it's so hard for them to gain interest because, like I said, I mean, most of us inherit a football team that we like or pick it at a very young age and end up cheering for that team forever. I mean, now at almost 30 years old, I'm just like, what if this doesn't even exist 3 years from now? What if they go under as fast as the other football league does? I mean, it's just hard to force fandom unless it's actually in your city too or your area. I don't even know what the closest one to Kentucky would be.
Would it be
Maybe like St.
Birmingham?
Louis or something. So I mean, it's just hard for me to invest in some random team. I mean, I might watch it casually just because I miss football and find that it's interesting, but I don't know if I'll really like invest in it that much.
St. Louis is the Battlehawks.
Yeah, it's probably
Pretty
the
Isn't there one in
closest
close.
one.
Birmingham too? They're 2.5 hours away.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
trying to see. We got Arlington Renegades, which I'm assuming that's Virginia.
Probably
Houston
Texas.
Roughnecks. Okay, it doesn't have all of them. Let's see. So another thing I really like about the XFL is they got the coaches mic'd up. Is that not great?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's always
Vegas
good.
Vipers, St. Louis Battlehawks, Seattle Sea Dragons, San Antonio Brahmas, Orlando, Houston, DC, and Arlington. So it looks like St. Louis.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like not even close enough to really go to a game unless you just want to spend a bunch of money and spend like a weekend in St. Louis or something and
See, I
do
think
that
for
while you're
me,
there.
it's not too bad distance from around Elizabethtown, so I don't think that's too bad. Let me see distance wise.
Just go straight west on the Parkway.
Well, I go up and hit 64.
That works too.
Elizabeth. I'll generically do Elizabethtown to St. Louis and see what Google says.
Maybe about 4.
Four and a half hours. That's not too bad.
Eh,
That's not bad. I mean, you could do a day of it.
I mean,
Of course.
if I'm driving that far though, I'm gonna go see a team I like either like the Indiana Pacers up in Indy or something like that,
I want to see somebody
or
that
something
wins.
like
I mean,
that. Well, I mean, see, that's the thing. I mean, the Pacers are 1-1 in the times that I've seen them in person, and the one time they won was when LeBron James was on the Cavs. So that was an incredible experience. But I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I just don't really see myself getting into it that much. Just like something I'll watch in place of the fact that I can't watch the Dolphins anymore, at least until September. So, and WKU in
yeah.
August.
Honestly, like the defenders wouldn't be too bad to cheer for. The Brahmas wouldn't be bad either. Offensively, I have no idea. But Seattle Sea Dragons, I mean, it's whatever.
And it doesn't help that they haven't been able to get any really big names to
True.
either be on a team or coach or anything like that. I mean, you have to have some type of appeal and like familiarity with everything too. Like if they got, I don't know.
I mean,
Been
like
out of the league.
if
Like
they got
Jay
like
Cutler. Like if they got Jay Cutler or some person that used to be in the NFL that people knew and then was a quarterback for a team, then people would be like, oh, I remember that guy. This gives it some sense of relevance. I'll watch this or something. I don't know.
Do they have any good announcers? I haven't watched it at all.
if they're better than Western's announcers, I don't even care. I mean, and I'm not saying
What does
Randy
that
Lee.
mean?
Let me correct that. I'm not saying Randy Lee. I'm just saying like the ones we get
Holy
on
moly!
ESPN Plus. Yeah. And they're like, "Hey, did you see Sam out there warming up? He's looking pretty good this year. Yeah, Sam's pretty good. Yeah." And you're like, "Who the hell's Sam? You're talking about your own the other team. You're not even talking about Western." I get frustrated anyway. But
Sam
the
Darnold,
Dwayne Rock,
obviously.
the Rock is actually, I guess, an owner. Let's see.
See, now if he was a coach or something, then I would immediately watch.
Shoot, he's I don't know. He's got an XFL Renegades jersey on, so that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Hey, I like the XFL as far as you got your spring ball with the XFL, and then you get to kind of watch the guys play around and have fun, and then in the fall you got the NFL and college and all that good stuff. So
See, I need to just make the thing I made up an actual sport. And the way that I can make it even cooler is everyone stays on the field the whole time. So you have to have like your O lineman also be the D lineman and have like your running backs
so
be and wide outs be the wide receivers and also like cornerbacks and safeties. I don't know what your quarterback would do. You'd want someone athletic. But I think it would be sick. I wish there was a way to test it out and actually get people to try it because it would be
Okay.
fun. But
I've got a great idea. Okay.
oh god,
We're going to combine two sports, maybe three, just kind of a spitball here. Let's do with Jared's idea. You get one down to convert. If you don't get it, then somebody has to go shoot a free throw. And if they hit the free throw, you get a point, and you get to keep going, so it can keep it going for a while.
that would take
and
so
then-
much time.
And then it would take time.
Yeah, what are they like
to
wheeling
switch
out the
teams out
goal
every other play?
onto the field?
Do
Or
what?
are they just like wheeling out a goal onto the field every down?
What we'll do is we'll put a basketball goal. We'll hook it into the bottom of the field goal without a backboard, so it adds another layer of
Oh
difficulty.
my god. No, with my sport, I'd make it 7 people instead of 11. That way, it would be even more spaced out.
Oh,
have-
and I got another idea. See, we add bases on the corners of the field, and every time you score a touchdown, you have a runner that gets to advance. So
What is this?
Jesus. Western
No,
softball.
Devin's going to combine NASCAR and swimming together. Swimming and diving with NASCAR.
NASCAR is what happens when we leave the
Yes.
stadium every time after the end of games.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm done talking until we go somewhere else with this crap.
so let's transition into spring football. Matt, you're on
Okay.
the alumni committee. What do you got?
Oh, sure. Well, definitely, if there are former players that do listen to the podcast, make sure you come out. There are going to be some good events and stuff like that. But I think spring football is a chance for the team to really come together and kind of figure out what you got. So it's a crucial time. I know it may not be thrilling for everybody that's just kind of watching from afar, but it's super important time, and hopefully they come together and find some pieces that they need. I think there's some areas that they need to make sure they've got taken care of, and so getting those players in and trying to get some things done, I think is obviously is a big thing they need to get going here in the next month and a half. So,
Okay, so what I want to see specifically, and I'm
is
not
a basketball goal.
No, that would be
Okay.
really funny. But
Okay.
no, what I want to see is, in all seriousness, is I wish that they would do a spring game draft like they used to.
Yeah, that did
Did
make
you
it
ever do that?
interesting.
Did you ever do that, Matt?
Yeah, I think didn't Willie do that? He did a
I
draft,
don't know if he did or not. I know Elson did it.
Yeah.
I don't remember if Coach Taggart did it, but that was
There was
a lot.
definitely a draft sometime.
It was a lot of fun. Jared, they would take like, what is it, a couple seniors? They'd split the seniors basically, and then the juniors or whoever's going to be a senior in the fall, they'd split them up, and the guys would go basically you would go down through the list of players, support staff, coaches, and everybody would get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd be either red team or white team. I only wish that they played it more actually like a game,
Mm-hmm.
Elson started doing scenarios and that crap, and nobody really cared. I mean, the coaches wanted to see it for, to see how people were developing. But, in the scheme of things, like, nobody cares. I'm sorry. But
It's just another practice, and people get
it was. It's just not interesting. But, shoot, you could do XFL rules since it's spring and do a 4th and 15 again or whatever. Yeah, I'm honestly, I always liked that. I hope Coach Helton does that as well. I actually saw a statistic the other day, and it was bouncing around the football group that Helton is actually leading his winning percentage or whatever with in the state of Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had 32 wins. Coach Stoops had 31, and then Louisville's coach was after that, and Murray and all them. So props to them, right?
Yeah. It's been, I mean, you look at it, he had one bad year, and then every other year he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, and even with the coaching turnover too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize they in the stats it was he's had 12 coaches he's had turned over, or something else maybe said that.
Yeah, that sounds
Since
right.
his tenure's been here, he's had 10 turnovers. I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm. And with the NIL stuff and transfer portal and all that, I think he's really the fact that he's been able to. I think he's the portal master, so to speak, in some ways. Like he really has been successful finding good talent and putting it together.
I am the portal master. No, but actually I saw something really funny because we always talk about, worried about the NIL and big teams coming in and stealing players. There was Nick Saban was one, and I heard that Ohio State did the same thing. That players were asking for like $800,000, and they said, if you want money, you need to go somewhere else. And I was like, wow, I was not thinking that was going to happen to Alabama or some of those schools. Because I figured they'd just be like, sure, here you go, write you a check. But evidently
they were asking Saban directly, like, hey, give me this money. Okay.
Yeah. If I'm going to come to your school, I want $800,000. And he was like, no. He's like, if that's what you're worried about, you need to go somewhere else. I saw that interview, and I thought that was crazy.
Actually, I know he kind of comes across as like a jerk or whatever. I think he's actually really good for college football in terms of like, I think he actually has a fair mind on stuff. It's actually nice to see that he's not completely out for number one, and he really does want to see
kids
like other programs and other conferences have a chance.
Yeah.
Because SEC really could just
absorb them all.
The attention. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Speaking of fair and fun, exciting, baseball's kicked off, teed off, thrown off. What is it? Whatever. I don't do baseball, so they've
thrown
pitched
off.
They pitched off. They threw the ball at each other. So baseball started out on the 17th they started a series basically all weekend against Dayton. Ended up beating Dayton on Friday 5-3. On the 18th, which was Saturday, they beat Dayton 6-1, and then on Sunday they beat Dayton 7-1. So nice clean sweep there. Congratulations to the guys. And then on the 21st, Western beat Belmont. So another nice win there for the guys. So congratulations, guys. And it looks like Western starts. Go ahead,
Devo. That is the first time since 2011 that we've started 4-0. So I think that's super noteworthy. Yeah, I know you probably didn't see all that in the Tower Act chat or whatever, but yeah, first time since 2011. Now, hey, little cautionary tale here. Pulowski did start out 6-1 his first year, so we're not out of the woods yet. But I mean, some of the signs are really good. We've had a ton of errors. Like every game, we've had like 3 or 4. But in terms of like fighting through it and coming up with big innings and stuff like that, stuff you really want to see, not blowing games at the end of the game like we've seen for the last like 7 or 8 years and longer. It's kind of nice to see some progress there. In the Dayton series, they didn't give up more than 3 runs.
Wow.
In any one game. So it's really nice to actually see. I think there was a 2-hitter. There were 3 pitchers that pitched, and they only gave up 2 hits, and that was the first time since like 2019 or something. So like all these first time in a long times have happened in just 4 games. So it's really nice to actually be interested in baseball.
I'm going to make you feel old, Matt. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So do you remember Coach Dwayne Hall? He was a strength coach.
Yeah.
His son is a pitcher at Western.
Is he? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
he is.
Wow.
I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but obviously his last name's Hall. There you go. Let me see here if I can pull it up real
He's
quick.
still on campus too, right? He's doing.
As
I know
far
he's
as I
involved
know,
in
he
some women's
was.
sports and I know
Yeah,
he's
he
in men's
always
basketball.
Dawson Hall. This kid is a ginger, and it's hilarious. But he's always had red hair. Funny story for you, and then we'll get back to talking baseball. I remember somebody was telling me that Dwayne and his two sons were on. Actually, I clicked on the roster, and it's got Dwayne Hall, Director of Strength and Conditioning. But obviously, Dawson and his little brother were on the elevator with Dwayne, and they started kind of scuffling like little brothers, like brothers do sometimes. And one of them hit the other, and Dwayne's like smacks one of them, and he's like, "Don't hit your brother."
He's like a total robot, wasn't he? He was just
Oh
like,
my gosh, Dwayne's
yeah,
hilarious. First
yeah.
off, if you get to know him, he's a great guy and he's hilarious. But outside looking in, he 100% has that stoic mentality just down to an art. He's just, that's what when. Okay, so a quick story, and then we'll get back to our topics. But there was a drive-by shooting at the registry when I was on campus, and one of the players was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and the higher ups, I guess, at Western or in the football program or whatever, were concerned that this was a targeted thing. They thought this kid was targeted. So we had police at the stadium.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
You remember the undercover guys?
Mm-hmm.
We had one police officer who was undercover as a reporter, which everybody knew who he was. Dude's like 6'4" and 280 and built like a brick, and you're like he's like holding this camera that's like it's like a little Nikon, and it looks like one of those little bitty digital ones I used to have back in the day, and you're like, there's no way in hell that he's a cop. And there was, we were talking, there were snipers. They told us there were snipers, so we're all afraid to like move too quickly because we're afraid we'll get shot. And of course me and one of the other former managers, Austin Moss, were joking that like somebody's going to jump out with a gun and Dwayne's going to jump off the stadium and punch him in the chest and rip their heart out, and you're just going to be like, what the shit? But that was just, that was Dwayne, because that's what we thought Dwayne would do. So, but yeah, congratulations to him. My wife and I saw that his son is actually playing, and we were both like, Jesus, we feel old as all get out. Because I remember when he was a little kid. And that's the same with little Will Taggart, who's going to be coming to Western.
Yeah.
So
it's like a coming home.
I know,
kind of thing.
The second coming of Taggart.
Gosh, watch him win the job.
Watch him win the job. We do awesome. And then about 10 or 15 years down the road, he becomes the head coach at Western.
Maybe.
We'll be in our 45th
plan.
season of the Red Out podcast.
We really will be old by then.
And we'll be like, Jake Omer!
Stansbury needs to go.
Yeah.
Oh, God, probably.
So baseball is going to be playing on the 24th, 3 p.m. Central. They're going against Ohio. They start a series against them. They've got a 4-game series against Ohio. So they've got Ohio on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So I'll post those in the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not, quickly, the game is 24th. It's at 3 p.m. 25th. It's at 1 p.m.
It's
they got
a doubleheader on Saturday, bud.
That's what it is. There's a doubleheader on Saturday.
Yeah,
then the second game is at 4 p.m. And then on the 26th, there's a game at 1 p.m. On Sunday afternoon. And then they will be playing Bellarmine on the 28th. So Jared, how do you think we'll do against Ohio?
Hopefully win. I mean, I love the way that the season has started. I mean, it's definitely been impressive.
I mean, you always want to win. What offensive weapons does Ohio have?
You're just trying to leave us out here to fry.
I haven't got to see our baseball team play yet, but I'm excited.
Oh, well, if you haven't gone, you can't talk about it. Matt, what do you got?
Well, I haven't been to a baseball game. This is
Well,
just a sad statement of like how bad the program is. Like people just
well,
didn't go to the games.
no, yeah, I
Anyway,
mean, and I don't blame either one of you for as far as baseball is concerned, because honestly, I feel like Western in general does not put baseball at a priority. I mean, they support the players and they do whatever, but like even ESPN doesn't have us on, on their baseball stuff. You can search other baseball teams, but you can't search Westerns. So
yeah, I mean, it's not a priority and it's not one of the biggest sports, but I think when they're decent, people show up and go to the games. I mean,
it's
they
not
packed
it's
out the
not
hot
Louisville
rods.
baseball. It's not Louisville baseball. It's not UK baseball. It's bowling. It's Western.
I will say this though. I mean, when they first had the games at the hot rods, those the hot rod stadium was.
Hopping.
I mean, yeah, there were tons of people there. It was for sure half full or more.
It was at half empty.
Depends on how you look at it. But anyway, no, I mean seriously, there were some big crowds for some Western baseball games when they were good, but then as soon as they kind of went south, it's completely petered out where there's just nobody there. So
Yeah.
I think people are looking at them now. Hopefully, they actually capitalize and just have a decent season, like win some games. In Conference USA, it's strong enough that like if you make the conference tournament, you got to be top 8.
Yeah.
You've got to be a decent team, and usually 3 or 4 teams get in the tournament. So be decent, and we could be flirting with the tournament every few years.
That's cool.
So I love to
Let's
see it.
slide over to softball real quick. Western played. They were in a tournament, right? Is that what?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know the name of the tournament?
It was the Carolina Classic.
Carolina Classic. There you go. Good job.
Yeah.
And Western ended up doing fairly well. They
Hey,
won
Devin,
all but one.
just
What
so
you
you
got,
know,
Matt?
there's this thing on it's called WKUsports.com, and it's labeled Carolina Classic.
Yeah, I scrolled down and saw it after you said that. But there's like 1, 2, 3, like 3 or 4 different things, and I've got the results pulled up right here so I could see them specifically.
I got you, man.
I know you're
I
busting
love
balls.
you.
But anyway, Western
Hey,
beat
Alma.
Delaware 6-2. They beat East Tennessee 6-1 on the 17th. Those were both 17th games. On the 18th, Western beat George Washington, which I thought he was dead, but anyway, they beat him 8-0, so it was pretty easy.
I would
Western
hope
beat,
so if he's dead.
yeah, those teeth are probably rotted by now. Those wood ones. Western beat Campbell 3-0, so double shutouts there. And then on the 19th on Sunday, Western lost to South Carolina 11-2. Which, I mean, in the scheme of things, that's not too bad a way to finish out.
Mm-mm.
I would have liked to have seen a clean sweep, but, with a D1 softball program like that, you take what you can get.
Yeah. I mean,
Matt, what do you think?
they've done about what you would think they should have done so far against the Power 5 teams. They've hung in a few of them, but they haven't beaten any. And then against the kind of mid-major teams, they're 5-0. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're
And I
doing
mean,
what they should do. You don't know much about them yet, but
they're scoring what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about five runs a game on average? 6,
something
12,
like that. Yeah, that's probably about
20,
right.
25. Yeah. In 5 games. Yeah, it's 25. Yeah. It's pretty quick damn math in my head, Rain Man over here.
Great job,
5 runs
Dev.
per game, so that's pretty good. And honestly, to be going into conference play and stuff like that, I mean, it's good to go against these bigger teams. These bigger D1 teams to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
See how you're developing against these teams. So,
For
Jared, what do you think so far about softball?
That's the same as baseball.
You just
Okay.
like leaving us out to fry, man. Like
Win everything. I want us to win everything.
Hey, I do too. Honestly, I'm fine with it. I don't know a lot about softball. I do
Shame
know
on you,
Taylor
Devin.
Sanders, number 15, who's a senior, got Player of the Week. So Conference USA. So congratulations, Taylor.
That's good.
And that's
get
it.
ready.
Hey, I'm just happy it was an easy name to pronounce. Anyway, So congratulations to her. And they will be playing the 24th. I guess we're still in the Classic. I don't know, or maybe they're moved to another series. I don't know. On the
Yeah, it's the
24th.
Hilltopper Classic on the.
Oh, okay, Hilltopper Classic.
This
We
is
got
at
some
home.
pretty good names in the Hilltopper Classic. We've got Central Michigan, Illinois State, and Jacksonville State is who's Western's going to end up playing. 24th, we've got a doubleheader, Western versus Central Michigan, and then the second game is going to be Western versus Illinois State. On the 25th, we got another doubleheader, so that's going to be exhausting. Western versus Central Michigan, and then Western versus Jacksonville State. And then Western will be playing on the 26th at they'll be playing Illinois State. So go out, support the Lady Tops. Great parking because it's right there. The big parking structure at Egypt now. The Egypt parking lot, I should be specific for our international listeners. So, yeah. So support the Lady
Shout out
Top.
to what country should we shout out tonight, Devin? Saudi Arabia or
We can definitely shout out the UK. We got our English listeners.
yeah,
So
tally ho.
appreciate you all. We've got our Brazilian listeners. There's a couple that listen from Brazil. They've messaged me that they are trying to learn English, and God help them if they're listening to us for that.
Picking up a Kentucky dialect.
They can speak Scotsvillian.
That would be that would be really funny is if they're like they're in their English class and they're like, I learned this listening to podcast, and they're like, oh, go ahead. What is it?
Toppers.
Hey y'all. Basketball. Lady Tops.
Pain. Oh, okay.
Lady Tops beat Charlotte 75-73 and lost to Rice 82-64. Matt, were you really surprised?
Not really surprised. No. I mean, Charlotte, I've been saying, we talked a few weeks ago, Charlotte was one of my contenders that I kind of thought could really, because of the coaching, could be kind of in play.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, your hierarchy, obviously you got middle, who's the clear class of the league. They're ranked and all that crap. They've already, they for sure have first place. They'll be the 1 seed no matter what. They could lose all their games and still be the 1 seed. Then there's Western, who has a game in hand on UTEP, and we beat them earlier. And then you've got, I believe it's Rice after that. Rice and then La Tech. So this game against La Tech, Western's ahead by 2 games. If we beat La Tech, we'd eliminate them.
Okay.
Rice was a tough loss because it kind of gave them a chance to get in there. There are a couple games from us too. I think Rice is actually playing pretty well right now, and they'd probably be one of the favorites come tournament time too. So it wasn't surprising. I'm kind of concerned for them because honestly, the schedule the rest of the way is tougher than it probably could be. I think they had some easier games early, and thank God they capitalized. And they won a tough game at UTEP, which was really impressive and really key for them tiebreaker wise.
Okay.
So I am concerned though. La Tech is capable, and it's on the road on Thursday. So if you're listening, if you're not listening live, it's today, and it's at 6:00 in Ruston. They're more than capable of winning. Either team, but obviously I think the Lady Tops hopefully will take care of business. If they do, it puts them in really good position. If they lose, they're starting to flirt with kind of a end of the season meltdown scenario, and could really end up in possibly, I think, could end up in 4th or 5th and end up having to play middle pretty early in the tournament, which we do not at all want.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we can kind of pull it together here. If we could win all 4, great. If we could win 3 of 4, I think we'd be in a good enough position to hold on to at least the 3 seed, which I don't really care if we're a 2 or 3 seed. Doesn't matter. UTEP or Rice or whoever. I think they're all about even with Western. You just don't want to be on the same side as Middle and hope Middle loses to somebody on the way to the championship.
I was going to say, are you worried about UTEP at all?
But I don't know. I think they have an advantage when they play at home because they're at altitude. They're at they're in the mountain time zone, so it kind of throws you off.
Yeah, different stratosphere, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they have an advantage when they're at home that other teams just don't have. I think they also tend to not play that great away from home, so I don't know if they're a real threat in the tournament. It's kind of hard to say, but they're a pretty good team. They're not awful, and they have some good players, and they played well against Western. Western needed. I think that was one of the games that they had a real big comeback. I think they started down like 20-0 or something ridiculous, and came back and actually won. So definitely need to respect them, but I'm not afraid of them. If that makes
Okay,
sense.
I was going to say because they've got FIU tomorrow. If you're
I'm afraid
listening.
of the schedule, if that's what you're asking. I think the other teams have. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good because Western's got UTEP has FIU, FAU.
So those should be wins.
Then they've
regardless
got
of where they
us.
played.
Then they've got us, and they're a game behind us, and then they've got MTSU.
Right. So they should lose against Middle, and then
Yeah.
the kind of the game that's going to affect the most going forward is going to be the game against UTEP. If we beat them, we're probably in a great spot. Regardless.
Yeah.
Of the 4 that we're playing, we need to beat La Tech and UTEP, and then the other 2 we could probably lose and we'll be fine. But if we lose the wrong games, we could end up easily way down in 4th or 5th. So we shall see.
Yeah. Jared, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're in a lot better position than I thought we would be at this point in the earlier part of the season when we were losing to like Cal Baptist or whoever it was, teams like that. I mean, I'm just glad that they've been able to turn it around for the most part and still be competitive in conference play. I mean, there's still definitely a shot, like you were saying. I mean, for them to finish decently well towards the top of the conference and everything, hopefully maybe make a run in the tournament. I mean, we'll see. I mean, just got to handle I love that they did what we all thought the guys would do and like split games, but I mean, at least they're winning. So I respect that.
So, Matt, what is the probability that Middle loses in the Conference USA tournament?
I'd say
less than 30% chance they lose.
Oh no, I'd say there's a decent chance they lose. I mean,
it's March; anything can happen.
That is true. It is true.
I'd say they're probably like I'd say at least 50% chance they do win the whole tournament. But I think there's also there's enough teams there that could beat them. I mean, they're not invincible. They're not.
No.
Like Western has been able to score on them, they just can't stop them. So if Western could find a way, or maybe run into a Middle that's tired or something like that. I mean, Western honestly has the system that they could beat a team that's tired and maybe just they miss some shots. I think Western at times this year has played okay against Middle, and then they just melt it down later in the game. So I don't know if it's just Middle matches up really well offensively against Western, but Middle's defense wasn't the reason that they beat Western. So I think it's going to come down to if Western could find some stops, I think they'd have quite a good chance against Middle. But problem is Middle has size and they have some pretty good athletes and stuff, and it's just not a great matchup for Western. We'll see. But if you can get on the other side of the bracket, you got a chance. And I don't think any of the other teams are like a huge threat to Western. I think they're all even or definitely not as good. So you just got to try to avoid Middle and hope it works out.
Yeah, that's it's a good thought. Men's basketball, real quickly. We got a few minutes left, and we got a mailbag to reach into and talk about. So Jared, what'd you think?
Man, this is way more
Can
disappointing.
we just skip it?
I mean,
Sorry,
honestly, that's
Okay.
just kind of the mood, which is sad. But I mean, there was a meme I was really proud of that I put on the towel rack after we lost to Rice. That it's like the diagram. It's like, where does it hurt, and it shows a person, and like the head is red, and it says headache. And then the other one said like it's red around the stomach, and it says stomach ache. And then the other one with like the entire body was red, and I put WKU's a basketball fan. And I think that that's pretty much how everybody feels right now. It's just complete pain and agony.
Yep, not wrong about that.
But yeah, I mean, I thought we would at least win one of those games, but I mean, we either bury ourselves in a hole at the end of the game or the beginning of the game. I mean, that's just the only thing that's really consistent about this team.
Yeah, it's just really frustrating to. I mean, we and our predictions last week were split. We thought Western was going to split, win one, lose one, and then they peed down their leg, laid a goose egg, whatever analogy you want to use, and it just it's so disappointing, and it just makes you feel like the rest of the season, it's just a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
So Western is 8 games out. We're not looking too hot, so let's just reach into the mailbag. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of
Okay.
the questions are probably about basketball, anyways.
These are 100% basketball because I asked them in the basketball group. So one of our comments comes from Scott. Scott wants to know. He said, "I would like to see the band and students back in bleachers at the end of court.
Yes.
Band playing more with less recorded music and more and better replays on the big screens. Go Tops."
Mm-hmm.
Do you all both agree?
Oh yeah.
I 100% agree.
100%. Yeah. It's a tangible difference.
Mr. Kenneth writes, where should next year's Conference USA basketball tournament be held? Do you think the conference tournament will go to campus sites, i.e. a Sun, or be at one location? Matt, I'll let you go first. What do you think? Should we let's start off with, where should the Conference USA tournament be next year, and do you think they should move it as part 2?
Well, I do
move around.
I honestly, they definitely need to move it around
Yeah.
because Frisco is not a good spot for anybody that's not right close to Texas, like La Tech and then the Texas schools. Who else feels like Frisco is an awesome spot? It works some, but you got to move it some. Like,
Yeah.
move it around and stuff. I think the campus sites would make the games more interesting because you're going to have a crowd. At least at the campus that the games, like, as long as the team is in it, that it's at a campus site, it should be interesting. I don't know. I don't know what they should do, but they definitely. I hope and pray that they don't just keep it in Frisco because it's just lazy. They have their offices there, so that's why they're doing that. They're right in their backyard, and it's saving them money. But it's just like, come on, go somewhere else and do something interesting to get other fans engaged, because it's really hard for it's going to be hard for Liberty fans to make it all the way to Frisco. Like, it's going to be hard for FIU, which FIU doesn't have anybody that follows them anyway, so who cares? But
Problem solved.
yeah, fix that issue. But I mean, seriously, you're bringing in some teams that are from all over. Move them around, move the tournament around, and let's see what works. I think campus sites could be a good solution.
I think it would be interesting to do the switch, but then again, you'd run into the same issue you have, like you said, with the different schools being able to travel to the different locations.
Reward the schools that travel, though.
So you just go to, I don't even know who travels well for schools, because like Western and MTSU are so close, they travel decently between the two. But I don't know. It'd be nice to have a centralized location instead of out
like,
west.
Like, here's my thoughts. There is one location that it would almost be fair for everyone, but I mean, as spread out as this conference is, I mean, nothing is going to be fair. To
No.
me, like Arkansas, like either Little Rock or do Hot Springs like we used to back in the Sun Belt
Hot
day.
Springs
I
was
feel like,
awesome, by the way.
yeah, like it was a fun environment. I feel like that would be more centralized because it's not as bad for like the New Mexico people, basically them and Texas. Like Texas isn't far from that at all. I mean, FIU. I mean, obviously, there's nothing they can do about it. But I mean, I feel like it's a little closer than Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I would love Nashville. I mean, they did an incredible job hosting the OVC championship game at Municipal back in the day. Well, not that long ago. And I regret going to those championship games because, I mean, those games like Murray State versus Belmont for the OVC championship were some of the most fun games that I remember watching any conference championship be. So, I mean, I feel like Nashville is a good centralized location too, as far as like it's a big city. There's a lot to do. I mean, it has the touristy aspect to be like, oh, you can come to the tournament, but also still be able to do a lot of cool things and stuff like that too. But I feel like Arkansas or maybe Nashville, if it's a centralized location, do that. As far as like on campus site, I mean, I feel like that's more like what your conferences that are smaller that struggle a lot more are doing. I feel like that would be very reflective of Conference USA if they decide to move to that. So, I mean, that's just my opinion.
No, that's not a bad opinion. Honestly, I was thinking like Atlanta or Alabama, somewhere a little further south.
Birmingham.
Birmingham was a good spot too.
Yeah,
I mean,
Birmingham's not bad. I mean, it's not too far of a drive for Western fans.
My
Now,
vote is for Arkansas.
I was going to say UTSA,
I think Arkansas is
UTEP,
great
y'all are
over
just
there.
screwed. I'm sorry. Y'all are way too far out there anyway. It's going to take you forever to get wherever. But, like some of these teams that are in the East, FIU, Charlotte, Western, MTSU, and others, in the East, you're going to have more of a gathering, at least in Alabama or, Mississippi or
Well,
somewhere
yeah.
like that.
Now
See,
you got
and
Kennesaw
true-
State coming and Jacksonville State. I mean, you got some Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah.
So now it might make sense to be in somewhere like Atlanta or
Yeah.
Birmingham or something like that.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not going to be
Chattanooga.
close because the
Yeah.
offices aren't there, but
I
maybe
mean,
we
in
can
true
get away
Conference
from the
USA
screen.
fashion, it should be in Maine or Seattle, Washington,
Right.
as far away from any school as possible.
And we could catch the sea dragons on the way
Yeah.
to the game.
That'd be awesome. We could just be like, oh my gosh. But yeah, honestly, it'd be pretty interesting. Maybe we can get rid of the screen. Maybe we can
Oh,
get
you
rid of
mean
that
the
screen
curtain?
between the teams.
Right.
Yeah,
the
yeah, no
curtain.
curtains. No curtains. Let's just.
You mean having the basketball tournament in a basketball facility? No way. There's
Yeah, that would be
no way that
wild.
would ever
That's
happen.
ridiculous.
I honestly, I think it would be nice to be able to, to have multiple games go. Well, not multiple games, but have like a facility or area, where you can have, let's say, Western plays at this time, the next team plays at this time, the next team plays at this time, and just have it go all day.
No, just put it in
March
a massive
Madness
stadium. Make all of the games play at the same time. Imagine that.
Hey,
Have
you
it
could
in
do
Preston.
it.
Yeah.
Hey,
No.
that's what Northern Illinois did or does. I guess they still do. I don't know. Back in the day when we traveled to Northern Illinois, their football field also doubled as their basketball arena. So
I mean, Syracuse, it does
Is
the
Northern
same thing.
Iowa or what?
Northern Iowa, the
Okay, you said
Panthers.
Northern Illinois. I was just making sure.
Did I say Illinois? I meant
Yeah, you
Iowa.
did.
Yeah.
I was looking at Google Maps, so it screwed me
But
up.
no, Carrier Dome and Syracuse, same thing. It
Yeah.
works.
Yes, Northern Iowa. We played back in the day, and they had to roll the field, literally roll the turf out and lay it out, which that was the worst thing. Like the abrasions the guys had after the games were like when you were a little kid and you skin your knee, but that's just because you fell down on that hard ass turf. But anyway,
Hey, Devin, what was it
Yeah.
like to see Kurt Warner play in college?
hey, I was there when Jimmy Fikes played. Okay, so anyway, so
Played?
yeah.
Wow.
So, Matt, has the Stansberry experiment been a success or failure?
Oh God, is that one of the
Swear to
questions?
God, that comes from John John wrote that in. Wants to know, is the Stansbury
Is it
experiment been
Condre?
a success or failure? Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. He's a big. He's just fishing for Stansbury to get trashed on. I mean, God. Here's where I stand. I still stand this way. If he makes the tournament, hallelujah. If there's some kind of miracle, they come together, whatever, then he keeps his job. Otherwise, get out. It's over. Like,
Wait.
it's a disaster.
The first 3 teams have COVID and they can't play. Western makes it. Woo!
I mean, about freaking time we get something to go our way. Good
Yeah.
Lord.
I mean, seriously though, like there's 4 games left, so play out the rest of the season. You can't fire him now.
Yeah.
If he makes it, hallelujah, he finally did it, yay! And then he gets another year. I think it'd be really hard to fire him if he actually made the tournament. But if he doesn't, if he makes the championship, if we lose on a buzzer beater, if we get screwed by the refs, I don't care. If you don't make the tournament, get out. Go. It's time to go. I don't care what the buyout is. I don't care if Houchins himself says that he's going to remove all his sponsorships. I don't care. He needs to go if he doesn't win the tournament this year, period. That should be the standard.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. For the most part, the Stansbury experiment has been adequate.
See, I don't think any of us really could have predicted it going the way that it has, because we had
No.
very high expectations. At least I did. Because, I mean, he's a good recruiter. He was bringing in these 4-star recruits, 5-star recruits, and then building up the hype. And that's the thing. We did our job as fans to support Coach Stansbury. We showed up to games. We had record sales for season tickets and had very good attendance with a lot of the teams, especially like 2017, 2018. Those teams with Justin Johnson, especially. Like, there was the fan support. We did everything we could. We just had some horrible luck. I mean, that is part of it. I mean, some of it is terrible, like the Marshall game, like that lay-in for Bearden that could have gone in, and we wouldn't be having this conversation now. Or maybe we show up against North Texas in one of those games that we have against them. Or maybe, like, if COVID doesn't happen, 2020 is our year and we were to get in that year. I mean, there's just so many different things that had to have gone wrong for us to have gotten to this point that I feel like you have to move on at some point if he doesn't win this year. Because, I mean, we did our job as fans to support him. He hasn't lived up to the promise that he made us of getting us to the NCAA tournament and a conference tournament championship. So ultimately, I feel like it's just best to move on at this point. I feel like he's too polarizing that we can't really. I mean, unless he were to pull it off, like Matt says, and we were to somehow miraculously win this year, I mean, I think it's time to go.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think a lot of the issue we have with Stansbury, especially this year, was the hype. There was a lot of hype about basketball, and everybody was so built up about it that when the guys started having issues, that I think it made it worse.
Yeah.
Because, a couple, like, the Louisville game was the Achilles heel, was the Trojan horse, whatever you want to call it. But that moment when we lost to Louisville and they haven't done shit,
They got
pardon my
4
French.
wins.
They haven't done anything, and Western made them look like they were NBA superstars. So, that's the frustrations. And then, of course, there's other games throughout the season, but that was the trip, I think. That was the stumble that just made fans go, wait a second, these guys aren't supposed to be this, they're supposed to be great. This is supposed to be our year, blah, 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 blah. And
see, what Coach Stansbury will ultimately be remembered for, especially after this season and he doesn't come back. Yeah, I think he would just be remembered for having good talent but not good teams.
Yeah.
I mean, he got people like Charles Bassey, Tavion Hollingsworth, Jamarion Sharp, Davion McKnight. I mean, he's gotten all of these super talented players, but I mean, they just weren't able to perform as a team, at least enough to win a championship.
And another thing that he has had as far as a legacy is the players that have been in NCAA purgatory. Kenny Cooper. Dante Allen didn't start at first, and he's done a lot better. But you have those teams, you have those players about every year that
And then, of course, the whole Mitchell Robinson situation too.
Mitch
Like,
Robinson, God,
yeah.
I can't stand it.
And the whole rest of that roster too. Half
Yeah,
of it
like
fell
Jordan
off, not just
Brandreth was
him.
another one that was supposed to be on that team that would have been good. He didn't end up playing. That Chris Duarte, who plays for the Indiana Pacers, was originally committed to WKU and was going to, and then had something happen to where he couldn't play here, and then went to Oregon instead, and ended up getting drafted by the Pacers in like the first round. So I mean, we were on the brink of having that key player. I feel like so many times, and then we just weren't able to actually have them play. And that's another thing that adds to all of the disappointment of the Stansbury era is having people like Mitchell Robinson and all these other players who would have been amazing. Like Trevlin Queen is another one who was really solid that we didn't get to have play. So, I mean, it's just like a multitude of different things that I feel like have gone wrong that none of us could have ever predicted in that first press conference he had when he was hired. So, I don't know.
Yeah. So, last question, Jared, I'll go with you first.
All right.
With SMU likely headed to the Pac-12, what are WKU's chances of making a successful pitch to the American Athletic Conference?
I still don't see it happening just through the fact that we're in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's pretty much what Todd has said. That's pretty much what the American Athletic Conference has said too. Like, I mean, I think that's what Todd said is that, like, if we were in Nashville instead of Bowling Green, we would be the number one pick for the American. Like, easily,
Yeah.
looking at how good all of our main programs are. But it's just the fact that we're in little old Bowling Green, Kentucky, that it makes it a little harder for us to get into a bigger conference because we weren't charter members in the SEC or some other bigger conference like a lot of these other teams have been that are smaller cities in Bowling Green, like Oxford, Mississippi, places like that. Like, they got really lucky to basically inherit being into the SEC, and we can't. I mean, it's hard for us to make that move. So I don't see us going there at all. I'd love for us to try to make a move, but do I see it happening? Absolutely not.
Matt, what's your probability of it happening?
What's my problem?
There's too many to list in this episode, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, here's what needs to happen for us to have a chance, and that's to win. And lately, when you think about all the conference realignment stuff, every single time it comes up, Western has just sucked at the major sports at that time when they start looking. And so they look and they say, well, now they're going to look at basketball and say, we haven't been anywhere in 10 years, and your football is nice, but, you know, it's not elite. I feel like if they came looking at Western and Western had been to the Sweet 16 3 times in the last decade, or if football had won a New Year's Six bowl, or if women's basketball was in the tournament all the time and baseball was really good and making super regionals and whatever, if you had some of that going on, I think it'd be hard for them to turn you down because you are going to make the conference money by being in the money making moments of the sport. Like, if you're in March Madness all the time, you're bringing in money to the conference by being really good. If you win a New Year's Six bowl, I think you get like $20-something million or whatever. So,
good gosh,
yeah, it's a ton of money exchanging hands. Well, you've got to perform like that. The market is not big enough right now. I mean, if Bowling Green continues to grow or whatever, but it's not even close to that right now. So you've got to rely on winning. Think about the programs that did move up. Ultimately, it was either because of their stupid market or it's because they won.
Yeah.
The teams that moved to the A10 and all that. Like, isn't Davidson in the A10 now or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whatever. Well, they won because Stephen Curry put them on the map and took them to the Elite Eight, and they got invited. Well, they wouldn't have been invited if they hadn't made that Elite Eight run.
Just like Butler in the Big East. Like, they wouldn't be in the Big East if they didn't go to 2 back-to-back national championship games.
Right. Wichita State, whatever. You can name a bunch of these that are probably not household names without making big runs in the tournament. And I think, or in football or whatever.
See, our main problem is we have stats and we have wins every now and then. We just don't have any hardware.
Yeah, you need to have national prominence somewhere.
You've got to have the
resume.
resume.
Be able to turn you down.
definitely got to have the resume to back up what your worth is, as far as that goes. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just 100% what you're saying. Like if Western had the wins, if we could make it to the Elite Eight, in the March Madness or New Year's Six Bowl or something like that, you're going to have conferences calling you left and right to say,
I mean,
Join
look at
us.
Murray. Murray's
Join
a good
us.
example. They moved to
Yeah.
the Missouri Valley. They're in a dump of a town. They got like 25,000 people in Murray. I don't know how many people are there, but they moved
Probably
up
not that
because they
many.
win and they've got a brand and they've got Ja Morant and they had several teams that were nationally ranked and stuff. But that's all been fairly recent. They don't have as much tradition as we do in basketball, but they have more wins recently and they have big time performances that everybody remembers. So it adds value to their conference.
Yeah. I'm looking up the population in Callaway County. 37,000. Okay.
Woo! Man.
Congratulations.
Metropolis.
You're close on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Does that include all the mules?
No, it's a 1-horse town. But anyway.
No.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything. If you would like to send us questions, you can hit us up on Twitter. I take no responsibility for what Matt tweets out. I'm just going to throw it out there now. But definitely follow that. Follow the Tau Rec. If you want to support us, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate your support, and it helps us out. So it's a cheap, easy way to do it. You can hit us up on Patreon as well. Red Out Podcast on Patreon. And the other way is if you'd like to use our affiliate link, you can go to betterhelp.com/redout. Use the affiliate link. It gives you your 10% off your first month, I believe. Sorry. Hashtag sponsored. Sorry. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate your support. I will post the upcoming events on our YouTube for the next baseball, softball games that are going to be played, and basketball as well. And we'll talk more about them next time. So, like always, guys, go Tops.
Go Tops.
Good now. There we go. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate you, bud.